So I had like a very structured upbringing. It was American dream, 2 kids, a dog and a picket fence kind of thing. I got older as like a teenager and my mom started talking about how my dad was an alcoholic, and I was like, really? Like I never knew, because he didn't really drink at home, or like he'd have a couple beers maybe. I know there's a lot of alcoholism on my dad's side of the family, and then my mom's brother is an addict. Heroin or meth or both, I'm not really sure, but you know, whatever the case may be, and I would get drunk and I would go walk the streets of like whatever part of town that I was in, and just find myself in like really bad situations. I would be telling people later on, like, you know, this happened to me and I was so scared, and I would get these reactions, like people would be like, I'm so glad nothing bad happened to you. Like it felt good, you know, it felt like people proving to me that they cared. Like I would just get wherever I was going for the night, like wherever I was like out of the house and like around people, which was like usually the park or the skate park. I was young, like too young to have a paying job, young. The bigger reaction I could get from people, the better, you know. I don't know, I think maybe we went to a movie or something and we were at like a Filiberto's. I think mostly for like shock value. Like I took a bag of shrooms out of my purse and just like ate an entire eighth, and they were like, oh my God, you're gonna die, like what's going on? And I just thought it was like hilarious, you know. The bigger reaction I could get from people, the better, you know. My parents not really having experiences with it, like I think that they just kind of like believed what they wanted to. There was like a few times, like I remember them finding like drugs in my car. They were like, why do you have people in your car doing drugs? And I was just like, oh, I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm not gonna tell them what they can and can't do, you know? I thought that they kind of suspected, and then once I like got into heroin, my dad kind of was like, no, like not my little girl, like she's not doing heroin, but my mom like knew. I think like a couple weeks after I turned 18, I got arrested. Anyway, it was like a really big deal, you know, and I was in jail and my car got impounded, and my mom was like, what is going on, you know? And I was just like, oh, my car got impounded because like I had speeding tickets and I was like trying to lie. And I remember I was supposed to be picking up heroin for my friend's boyfriend, and I was like, oh yeah, I was my car got impounded because speeding tickets, and she's like, then why are people calling me and telling me that you're on heroin, you know? And I just couldn't keep it all straight anymore, and so I just was like, because I am. I was totally that person that thought that like I was just physically dependent, and if I could just get through the kick, like I'd be fine. But I remember just like sneaking around and like still trying to get high and being like, oh yeah, I feel better, like I don't feel sick, you know? And I would be just like, hi. There was no later or tomorrow or the future. There was just like right now, and me getting high right now, and how am I gonna feel okay right now? The cops, they were like monitoring me. I got a call from them one morning and they were like, we need you to come down to the police station. And I got there and they were like, we need you to take a drug test. Like, you're essentially an informant. Did the UA, and it was obviously like dirty for opiates. And they were like, oh, so you have a prescription for Suboxone? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, great, what doctor? And I was just like, okay, I was like, I'm lying, okay, like I can't stop. Whoever the agent's like supervisor is, he was like, just drink a bunch of vodka, you'll be fine. And I was like, huh. Okay. I would wake up and drink until I passed out, you know, and sleep until I woke up and do it again. And I remember very clearly having the thought, like, can I ever be happy without heroin again? Once my dad came back from Afghanistan, like, him and my mom were like, we've got to get her into rehab. And I would just be like, I don't need rehab, like, you guys are being ridiculous. I think like the final nail in the coffin was like, it was Easter, and like that night I like went out to go like get drunk, you know, and I woke up the next morning and I like had no idea what happened. The last thing I remember was my dad had either texted or called me, and he was like, when are you coming home? And I was like, oh, I'm leaving in a few minutes. And like I meant it, you know, like I really was planning to leave. And like I think that the guy that I was with roofied me, but I don't know that for sure. And I had all these calls and texts from my parents, and they were like, where are you? Like, are you alive? And I came home, and they were getting ready to go to work, and they were like, tell us what happened. And I was like crying, and I was like, I seriously don't know. Like, I have no idea what happened to me last night. And after that, you know, my mom was like, you need rehab. And I was like, maybe I do. I just did like everything they told me to do, like everything. Got a sponsor, worked the steps, joined a home group, got service commitment, which was really uncomfortable, you know, like I wasn't used to doing any of that stuff, and it's crazy. Like, I remember really struggling with doing all of those things initially, and then like over time I started to look forward to it, you know, and I had like friends and I had people who cared about me, and I was laughing, and it just occurred to me, I was like, oh my God, I'm happy. And my mom's actually coming up here on Saturday, and she just like wants to hang out with me, which is shocking, I guess. I don't know, I mean, it's been 6 years, but like I still sometimes I'm like, you want to hang out with me? I have a job and I'm in school and I want to travel the world, you know, and like that's really cool. Like I have a car and I have an apartment, and like that's really cool, you know, I'm grateful for those things. But day one walking into the rooms of recovery, like I just desperately wanted somebody to tell me that I was going to be okay without heroin, you know. I really wanted to know that there was a possibility that I could be happy and sober at the same time. I think there's like the stigma that being in recovery is boring, you know, and like you won't be able to do things that, especially young people, you know, like you won't be able to do the things that other young people do, and you won't get to live your life in the way that maybe you had planned. I've gotten to have like fun sober, you know, like I've gotten to do things that I never would have been able to do if I was using. And honestly, I would say that getting sober gave me like a chance to be a kid again, you know, like I get to laugh and goof around and have like true friendships. And so honestly, I mean, it's the coolest experience. It's a little weird at first, you know, for sure, like it's a different way of life, but now looking back, like I was sober on my 21st birthday, and like I don't regret that I didn't have the opportunity to drink alcohol, you know, like I had a blast anyway. For anybody suffering now, like you can be happy and sober at the same time, like you don't have to suffer.